There are so many ways to violate people that some are still being categorized. Stealthing is an example. Don't recognize the term? Sadly, you may have experienced it and not even known. Our topic is super heavy today, guys, but it's one that needs to be discussed. Listen to Black Woman is starting now. Stealthing is non-consensual condom removal. It is morally wrong and widely considered a form of sexual assault. Some countries, like Germany, have made it illegal. In the United States, bills have been proposed to formally criminalize the act. Sadly, because stealthing happens in the confines of a consensual relationship, it isn't often discussed. That's why today's topic is meant to shed light on one of the biggest and criminal betrayals that can happen to a man or a woman. Here's why stealthing is sexual assault. Africa, what are your thoughts on stealthing?
Well, honestly, Shamika, I'm so glad that you made the point and made it clear to our viewers that it happens to both genders. So this isn't something that exclusively happens, to us. And, research has found that it happens in all types of sexual relationships, both hetero and homosexual ones. And it can be hookups, like long-term relationships, like marriages. So this is something that is quietly happening to a lot of people. And now it's becoming a part of a more mainstream conversation.
And it's definitely a dirty form of sexual assault because to even become intimate with a partner, you already have to have trust and vulnerability. And this is a huge betrayal within the confines of that trust. And there are also mental health issues that can arise when you're sexually assaulted, which can lead to suicidal thoughts, nightmares, flashbacks, anxiety, stress, all things that are a consequence of this betrayal. And at the end of the day, when someone opts into stealthing, you are exchanging someone's safety and sense of self just for your pleasure.
Yeah, you mentioned safety and all these other things, but condoms also prevent pregnancy. So if you remove a condom without someone knowing, you can get this person pregnant. I'm interested to see what people on social media had to say. One tweeter wrote, "Stealthing is actually rape, period." Okay, so here is a real interesting conversation, guys. How far do we want to put this on the spectrum of sexual assault?
Well, I think that, I know that people that this has happened to, and I think the whole issue with stealthing is that this isn't a man and a woman, going into a sexual moment and he's saying, well, I don't want to wear a condom, and she's saying okay or no, and he's forcing her. These are two people that are agreeing on a type of a sexual encounter, and one person or the other is taking that choice away. So, if you look at it in those terms, it is a version of assault. And it is a version, I think, of rape. And I know that almost sounds uncomfortable to say, but when you think about people that are maybe quietly suffering with this happening to them and not having the words for it, it's time to start normalizing that conversation and recognizing that rape can have different forms.
I think that's fair too, because in any sexual encounter, consent can be withdrawn at any time. Yeah. Consent isn't just, hey, do you want to have sex? Yes, and then that's it. Yeah. At any point, someone can say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this, I don't want this. Right. So under the definition that would fall into rape, even though for some people they might be like, that's extreme. Yeah. But if at any point someone does something without your consent, at that point, that encounter becomes rape.
I think I'm one of those people who are like, oh my God, that feels extreme. Yeah. But hearing other perspectives about it, I can see more of that. Princess Delfogue wrote, "Can we also talk about removing condoms during sex after consenting to sex with condoms? That's rape if you do not ask and inform your partner."
Exactly. Because that's really the issue. And I think that's why conversations like this are important, because it's also, I don't think that some of the men that are doing this are sitting here going I'm stalking this woman to go rape her and attack her. In their mind, it might just be oh, well, I wanted to, they wanted to take it off. And the issue is that if she didn't agree to that, then it's a problem. So getting people to understand exactly what consent is. It's more than just a yes, like you said. It's a rolling yes. And if you decide that you want to change the type of sex that's happening while you're having sex, you need to say, hey, is it okay if I take off the condom? Not just take it off and hope for the best.
I'm interested to see what the people in our audience have to say. Kiara, the polls, please.
As always, we took to our MadameNoire.com audience to find out what you think about stealthing and if you've unfortunately been a victim of this form of assault. We asked you all about your experiences with stealthing, with 14% of you saying a partner has taken off a condom during sex without telling you. 4% of you said that a partner lied to you about having a condom on. 4% of you said both A and B, and 78% said none of the above. What's interesting is upon first look, you might see 70% haven't experienced it. Great, right. Stealthing's not a thing. But that more speaks to you may not be having condom usage in your sexual encounters to have ever
had this be an issue.
Yeah. Right. And so the question is more of how many people who use condoms in their sexual health practices have experienced it, because if you're out here being raw, you're probably not going to encounter stealthing. You can't. Yeah. We asked, Have you ever contracted an STD from a person who was persistent about having unprotected sex with you? With 82% saying no and 18% saying yes. Wow. Which is just even more tragic, because if you're someone who practices safe sex, you do that to not get pregnant, to not get STDs. And that definitely shows why it's even more of a human violation against your body. Let's just round this up, because at the end of the day, I think it comes down to there being miscommunication about what consent means. And it's important to point out there's not laws protecting us from things like stealthing, at least not globally. And also, it just gets fuzzy when it comes to when someone says yes, when someone says no, and when you have the agency to withdraw that yes or that no.
Right, because it is a hard situation, because the whole thing about stealthing is that it's consensual. This isn't an attack from a stranger, and for whatever party that's in there, they're going to feel some sort of responsibility, because you're like, well, I'm already in this, and then it happened. So whose fault is it really? His fault? And it's just it's like you said, it's such a gray area, because then what do you report if there's no law? Like, I had never even heard the term stealthing until maybe on Twitter, maybe about 4 years ago, and I was like, oh wow, like you don't realize. And then when you start talking to people, and so many people were sharing, and I've talked to people about it, it's absolutely happening, but we're now just starting to get the words for it, and I think that's for men and women.
Absolutely, and I think that's why conversations like this are so important, because I'm sure there's people in our audience now who are hearing that and they're like, oh my God, I've been assaulted.
Yes, or men that are like, oh, I did do that to someone. Right.
And that can be very disorientating and confusing. And for the men on that side, they may feel attacked. Like, well, she consented to having sex with me. How is it that the way we're having sex all of a sudden is in question or can get me in legal trouble? And for the women, they may be questioning, well, how far can I take this? Can I press charges? Should I have pressed charges? Feeling guilt about, should I have protected my body more? Because from women who've experienced this that I have talked to, they feel frozen in the situation, because you did want to have sex with him, you just didn't want to have sex with him that way.
And that's really, I think, an important point to bring up, is that consent is about choice. And when you are someone that does this act of stealthing to another person, you're taking away their choice on how they want to protect their own body. You're taking away their choice of an unwanted pregnancy, of any type of STD. So that's such a dangerous thing, to take away another person's choice and their agency, because if you're having sex with someone, even if it is casual, you're still trusting them in that moment. There is trust, and you're playing on that trust that they have, as you said, for their own pleasure. And that's very dangerous.
And so many women who I've talked to about this situation, they talk about the fear that occurs in the moment when this is happening. When you find out that you have been violated, it's that moment of, do I say something? Do I not say something? Is my life in danger? Because if I do say something, is he going to get upset? And that's when it occurs to me that, okay, this is really closer to rape than I imagined.
All right, Shamika, take us home. We've been talking a lot.
Yes, this is simple. Stealthing is a violation. If it happens to you, it's not your fault. Talk to your partner about the layers of consent. Men, ask first and listen. Guys, until another episode of Listen to Black Women, make sure you check out hellobeautiful.com, madamnoir.com, answer our polls, because it's really important that we hear from you. Until next time, guys. Bye.